Chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett is titled Return of the Mandalorian, and this episode absolutely slapped. By far one of the coolest and most fun episodes we've had. Robert Rodriguez has been doing a terrific job with this series so far, but this episode, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, really stole the show. No pun intended. Everything about this episode was just awesome. However, it really was just a prologue for Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Boba wasn't even in the episode at all, but damn does it have me excited for next week. The episode opens in the most unlikely area in all of Star Wars, a butcher shop. I'm sure these places would exist in Star Wars, I just never stopped to think about how their food is processed, but now I know. But Mando is back, and he's already working on other bounties, and he's here to collect. Even using his first line from Season 1 of The Mandalorian by saying, "I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold." Plus, since the last time we saw him, he still has, and uses, the Darksaber. Although he's not as skilled with it, and this is something that I've been waiting to see. Throughout all of Star Wars, there have been several times where someone has picked up and used a lightsaber without harming themselves on accident, like Han Solo or Finn. But with Mando, he haphazardly swings it around and ends up cutting a pretty nasty gash in his leg. Something that I was expecting. Sure, he held his own against Moff Gideon just fine, but against a whole room full of people, it's easy to get carried away. But Mando collects his bounty and heads off to claim his reward. This was the only part of the episode that took me out of the show, and took me out hard. Mando is basically on the Halo from the Halo video game series. And sure, there is a shot showing that this floating space station isn't a full circle, but that's all I could see, and I'm surprised they got away with that. But after collecting his bounty, Mando makes his way down to the lower levels where he finds the symbol of the Mythosaur, where we get reunited with the Armorer, and Jon Favreau's Mandalorian character, who now has a name, and a pretty shocking one at that. Paz Vizsla. Now, I don't know if his name was revealed in The Mandalorian, but I don't think it was. But his last name being Vizsla creates concern now that Mando has the Darksaber, and boy does it escalate quickly. The Armorer explains the purpose of the Darksaber and how Bo-Katan's rule fell apart as the Empire destroyed Mandalore, with some pretty insane and terrifying shots of legions upon legions of TIE bombers raiding the surface of the planet, while KX series security droids checked to ensure that there were no survivors. Truly haunting scenery. The Armorer also explains that the Beskar staff he wields isn't suitable for the Mandalorians, and that Beskar should only be used for armor. So Mando allows the Armorer to smelt it down and asks that it be used to create something for a foundling, specifically Grogu. Yes, that's right, Mando hasn't forgotten about Grogu just yet, and from what it looks like, he now has a small chainmail shirt for Grogu to wear, which is so cool and so adorable. I also think it's fun that the Armorer mentioned the Mythosaur again, saying that it was foretold of the Mythosaur rising up to herald a new age of Mandalore. Sadly, it only exists in Legends. Obviously pointing out the difference between Legends and canon. They've done this a few times between the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian, and I love it every time. The Armorer begins to train Mando on how to use the Darksaber in battle, but he's struggling, explaining that with every swing the blade grows heavier. The Armorer explains to him that it's because he's fighting against the sword, when in reality he should be fighting against his opponent, which is when Paz Vizsla interjects, saying that Mando may not be worthy to wield it, and seeing as his ancestor Tar Vizsla created the Darksaber, Paz feels that he has claim to it and challenges Mando to a fight. Mando comes out victorious, of course, but he is banished from the Creed as he then reveals that he has removed his helmet. He learns that the only way he can redeem himself is in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore, which have been destroyed. And without any other options, he takes his leave, boarding a commercial transport to Mos Eisley. But wait, Boba is currently in Mos Espa. Why would he go to Mos Eisley? Well, to see the only person there that he knows, Peli Motto, who's currently busy trying to rescue her BD unit from some creature that has BD in its mouth. Now, of course, I got excited for this just like everyone else, but no, I don't think this is Cal Kestis' droid BD-1, simply because BD-1 has red markings and this BD unit has blue markings. Yes, Jedi Fallen Order 2 was just confirmed, but I don't think that plays into this being the same droid. Still though, it's sort of a cameo that I really love to see. But Mando walks in because it some point Peli sent him a transmission saying she had a new ship for him to replace the Razor Crest, only to reveal a pretty beat up and out of commission N1 Naboo starfighter. Now at first I thought this was just going to be a gag or a small Easter egg before moving on to the actual ship she had for him, but no, this is actually going to be his new ship, and he spends what I imagine is a few days with Peli fixing it up with all sorts of modifications. And I imagine this time lapse is what actually was going on during the time that Boba came in to take back Mos Espa, so now it lines up perfectly. But the finished product is pretty sweet and looks exactly like I imagined it would, a revamped Mad Max styled N1 starfighter that I cannot wait to buy the Lego set for whenever it comes out. But the real fun begins when Mando hops in, fires it up, and takes it for a test run. All of the nostalgic prequel era sounds come back, and watching him fly over Mos Eisley is just incredible, especially when he flies through Beggar's Canyon, showing us the old Boonta Eve classic pod racing track where we get some awesome callbacks. We see the service ramp that Anakin was forced onto in The Phantom Menace, and Mando even boosts his ship and flies out of the canyon the same way Anakin did. Of course, not by the service ramp, but you get the idea. Mando flies out of the atmosphere and flies over another commercial transport, and it perfectly mirrors the N1 flying over the Trade Federation ship. It's just all nostalgic and all very cool to watch, until he is once again stopped by the New Republic. And as always, Captain Carson Teva is back alongside a new character, Lieutenant Reed. And this is a fun cameo too. Reed is played by Max Lloyd-Jones, who was the body double for Luke Skywalker in the end of Mando Season 2. So seeing that he now has his own role is pretty awesome, and I don't know about you, but I need his helmet. The colors are just so nice. But as expected, Captain Carson Teva is asking for credentials that Mando doesn't have, and decides to just boost his engines and fly away from the two X-Wings. After landing back in Peli's hangar, Peli tells him that a friend came looking for him, but assures him that he has nothing to worry about, as Peli said that she hadn't seen him and then locked the place down. But that's not stopping this friend in particular, who happens to be Fennec Shand, who asks if Mando is looking for work and saying that Boba Fett needs muscle. Surprisingly, however, Mando declines the payment, telling Fennec that it's on the house, but first he has to pay a visit to a little friend, ending the episode. And just like that, the Book of Boba Fett has kicked it into high gear as we get closer and closer to the finale. And with only 2 episodes left, we are about to see some great action. Overall, this episode was just terrific. Seeing Mando again was of course always a treat, but just seeing all of the callbacks to the prequels and seeing how The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett tie in together is just so cool. Now I don't know if we're going to be seeing Grogu in the Book of Boba Fett, even though Mando directly mentioned him, but I'm not going to rule it out just yet, even though we are down to our last 2 episodes. But that's everything I have to say about Return of the Mandalorian. What were your thoughts? Did you like seeing Mando again? How big of a role do you think he will have in the remaining 2 episodes, and do you think we'll be seeing Grogu again? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. As always, be sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always.